Welcome to the Time to Grow podcast. We take you behind the scenes of the rapidly growing natural products industry. Join Kyle on his journey as he chats with retail buyers, founders, entrepreneurs, investors, mentors, and so much more. This is Time to Grow. And here's your host, Kyle Marsham.
Welcome back, everybody. We're on the Time to Grow podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're with two of my favorite people in the entire industry, Tamara and Yazeed. They are the creators, the founders of Nanashake. You've probably been seeing them on LinkedIn or across their social media platforms, but they have created their Nanopop SKUs. They're taking over the industry, one smoothie on a stick at a time. I'm honored to have you guys on the show. Welcome, and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us. It's a pleasure to be our first ever podcast with you.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you so much for having us, and we're so excited for it.
Yeah, I remember last year we were supposed to do the first podcast, but then you were blessed with your baby girl. And
my little Alina. We just had our first Halloween experience.
I
Did you guys
know,
see my costume?
We saw that, the Flintstones, brilliant. But I was just saying you needed to bulk up a little bit. You need to put a bit more weight, right?
I know. Well, I was doing bicep curls behind the scene before the pictures.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was so funny.
Yeah, so thank you. We're very excited, and yeah, it's been a year in the making, but here we are.
I know, and I think we were only audio. Now we're on beautiful video. You guys look fantastic, by the way.
Which is great, thank you. Like, it's always an honor to be sitting next to my beautiful partner and wife,
Thank you.
who always makes me look a lot prettier than I actually am.
You make me blush. You make me blush. Thank you.
So there's a lot that I wanted to cover, right? You guys have, every time I talk to you, we dive into, some moment of your journey into CPG, into coming to Canada. But I guess let's just ground the audience, because I'm sure everyone would be interested in the story. You guys coming from Dubai, you guys had your own ice cream shop that developed into what is today, the Nanopops, right? So why don't you start at the beginning, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty, fun consumer packaged goods industry.
It all started 8 or more than 8 years ago when Yazeed, one night, he looked at me and he is like, can you make a healthy ice cream? Because he loves ice cream, but he doesn't like how he feels after that. The bloating, the sugar on the waist, the aftertaste. And at that time, we our second kid, our son, he had a severe asthma, so we couldn't offer him any variety of the ice cream on the freezer shelves. So after Yazeed asked me, so I was like, okay, I have to do some research. So I did some research online, and unfortunately, I couldn't find any healthy ice cream in the same sentence together on the search. So I was like, okay, there's something about healthy dessert. So what I found at that time is nice cream, which basically you get your bananas, you ripen them, you freeze them, you blend them, voila, it's an ice cream. But I start making it for Yazeed and Yasin and Rafa. And then Yazeed, because of his marketing background, he's like, is there a market for a healthy ice cream? So it started thinking about it, and we did more research physical in the store level and like on the internet. As a physical in the store, we found either there is non-dairy and there is a dairy. And for our situation, non-dairy, the dairy, it wasn't an option. So we start looking into the non-dairy. And at that time, we were really surprised. Even the non-dairy, it wasn't any healthier option. Sugars, it's always one of the top 3 ingredients. And at that time, we did more research about the sugar content, because we were surprised that sugar, it's always either first, second, or third main ingredients in the ice cream dessert. So we start looking into the sugar content, and we were surprised that the sugar, recommended daily sugar for kids, is less than 6 spoons a day. But the intake and given for kids, it's more than 3 times a day. And believe me, it's not because the parents, out of a choice, they wanted to give their kids their sugar. But you know, some brands, they have their hidden way or misleading information about the sugar content. So because Yazid's in the marketing background, I remember one time he was having a popsicle and he's like, we're gonna do it. We're gonna open our first store. And March 2016, we opened the first non-dairy, plant-based, healthy ice cream a parlor in Toronto.
Where was that?
It was in the intersection Shepherd and Yonge. And it was March 13th or 14th of 2016.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, part of that is, so we immigrated to Canada in 2014. I initially got a job as marketing manager at Global News, and then I did that for a while. And then we had that situation where, I asked Tamara to make healthy ice cream, and when she made it, we've always wanted to start our own business, and that just kept us going. And then, she was mentioning about the recommended added sugar intake. I mean, the other stats that are alarming. So, 1 in 4 kids in Canada is either overweight or obese, and 1 in 3 Canadians is either diabetic or pre-diabetic, and really the sugar, the sugar content is a huge issue, and it's the reason why kids are getting more added sugars than they need to is because it's hard to identify where the sugars are coming from in a lot of the cases. And now there's all kinds of different options available, whether it's zero sugar or whether you add sweeteners. What we found is if you find a base that has naturally occurring sugars in it, then you don't really need to add that many more sugars. So we took that simple route of finding a base, bananas, which has, an abundance of naturally occurring sugars, and we worked off that. And when we opened up, it was fantastic because it was an opportune time, because that's when veganism was just taken off in 2016, and so we had this influx of customers who were really just keen to have a vegan option. And then we thought that vegan meant healthy. So we pushed that vegan branding, but then once we started getting customers, we realized no, just because it's vegan doesn't have to be healthy. So our concept is really, it's all about the health. We're very proud of that. We're leading the way. When we started going into supermarkets and stores and saying it's healthy ice cream, and we'd get a puzzled look on everybody's face because nobody was used to hearing that term. And even at demos, when we ask customers if they want to try a healthy ice cream sample, and they're like, there's no such thing as healthy ice cream. But when they find out that it's made with a base of organic bananas, and that's where most of the sugars are coming from, then it starts making sense to them.
Yeah, no, it's exciting, and you conducted the research, you did the homework before just jumping in to it, right? And we find that not every entrepreneur or new brand to market, sometimes it's just like, oh, I have an idea, I think it's going to sell. They have a little bit of a biased opinion, they launch it, there's too many products, it's cannibalized or whatever, and then they don't succeed, right? You guys kind of did that and then entered into the market at perfect time.
Yes.
Right? Low sugar was just trying to increase in popularity.
Yes.
Plant-based is continuing to be popular. And then you're disrupting a category that is kind of sleeping in that unhealthy realm that no one's really disrupted at all, right? It's run by Nestle and all of the multinational companies, right? So and then I think that is a huge reason why you guys are experiencing so much momentum right now, because you rode that wave at the perfect time.
Yes, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. And you know what? It's great for every brand. When you do your competitive landscape and you want to find your white area, there's a huge white space when it comes to ice cream.
Yeah.
And especially if you're looking at naturally occurring sugars. I mean, we did the research, and we're the only brand right now, at least in Canada, in that quadrant where you're using a base that has naturally occurring sugars. The norm is to use either sweeteners or added sugars. So straight to your point, it's very key to make sure that there's a white space that you can get in and fill the gap in. But the other thing we've learned is it's not enough to find the white space. You have to make sure, because especially in CPG, so at our retail store, it wasn't much of a problem, because when people came to the store, they were obviously looking for the product and they wanted to buy it. And so one of the biggest things we had to learn moving into CPG was, now all of a sudden there's 30, 40
you only have about this much space to communicate all of that.
That's
behind
right.
a door.
Behind
a freezer door.
Behind a door. And here's the thing, there's like a vast area of selection. The frozen section has been continuing to grow in grocery stores, so there's a lot more options. So this is the key thing. You've got to find your white space. It's got to be unique. You're filling a market need, but then the price is so important once you get the shelf. And I think that's been our biggest learning in switching from a retail store to CPG is, people coming to your store, they already know about if they don't like it, they just won't show up. But at a supermarket, even if you've got a great product and it's very unique, if you can't sell it at a reasonable price, there's other options available. And, people will often, even at demos, sometimes we see it after we've, pitched the product to them and they've tried it and they love it. They'll go to the freezer shelf and, they'll look, and right next to it, there's another brand that's on special for $4.99. They do the math. We're a family of four, and that takes precedence. So I think it's very key with the pricing to get it right. And I think that's been one of our biggest challenges.
Especially now, price is so important. And you didn't touch on one of the most important pieces of a successful CPG brand is taste, right? And I can tell you it tastes pretty damn good. My wife would agree, and my baby would agree. So you guys definitely have taste. You just need to get it into more people's mouths, right?
Yes.
And that's one thing you guys have been doing a lot of is demoing. Can you talk a little bit about that strategy and how it's working?
So for the demos, usually we do the demos ourselves.
Love it.
Because we want first to meet our customers at the stores and tell them this is us. Hello, we are a family-run business, and we believe, and we created something for our family, and we wanted to share it with your family. So to meet our customers at the demos, it's something give us a huge relationship to know more about our product, about getting a real feedback on the spot from customers, and receiving from them their feedbacks. This is from customer side. From the buyer side, it's really great for a founder to go and do demos by themselves, because when you build a relationship inside a location, a store with the customers, you can directly and go to the buyer and tell them like, listen, I did a demo in your stores and I grabbed these feedback. I would love to build it with you and communicate it with the customers. Plus, like when you get the feedback from customers on the spot, you are the founders, you know what's working for your brand and your product more than anyone. So last demo roadshows that we did in this year, customers, they came to us after we give them the bars at the demos. They and saw our ingredients. They told us it's like a smoothie on a stick. And we were like, what? And we heard it from different people, different customers that they tried it. And because of Yazeed's marketing background, on the spot, we thought that it's a huge insight that we got directly from a demo and the store from a customer directly to us.
Yeah. So the demos have been great. We find the best way to move product is to do something in store. I mean, you could work with influencers, which we certainly do. You can get creative on social media, you can run campaigns, you can do farmers markets and events, but nothing beats meeting the customers who are actually walking into the stores. And it is a laborious process. It's time consuming. It's not easy by any means, but it's totally worth it. We've tried all the different ways, and we find demos coupled. So you want to do a demo, but you want to layer some more things onto it. So you'll obviously an in-store promotion while you're doing a demo always helps. And like Tamara said, one of the things that we love to do is we've got excellent relationships with the retailers. So we're always talking to them about velocity and getting their feedback and input. And we find retailers, if you're having an honest discussion with them about moving product, they're always open to working with you on it. Like we've never spoken to any of the retailers that we work with and said, hey, we'd like to have a discussion with you about how you can move more product, and them saying no. It's always like, yes, let's do it. And when they see that, that commitment to driving velocity on an in-store level, we found is such a big driver, because even when you're not in the store, you want to make sure that you leave a halo, almost a halo effect. So when you're interacting with the customers and you've got a great relationship with the retailers, they're going to be your brand ambassadors. And who spends more time at supermarkets and stores than the staff?
Employees, yeah.
So turning, the stores, the store staff into your friends and then into your ambassadors is one of the greatest, strategies that has worked for us, and which we've kept on implementing and adopting. And yeah, we got the biggest insight, that smoothie on a stick positioning. We got that from a customer during a demo. So it's just a very rewarding experience. We know for a lot of founders, especially ourselves, you're like, oh, and it's, I gotta go, and you're not sure if it's gonna be, there's things you can do to ensure that you get a high traffic day. So you can, one little trick we always follow is you just go on Google the store location and scroll down, and you'll see their busiest traffic times. And so you can pick pick a window where the traffic at least is going to be higher. But it's invaluable. The connections you make with the customers, with the retailers, the feedback that you're going to get, it's going to help shape your business. It helps you generate and create content, also on your socials. So that's really been the best driver for us.
Was that always like the strategy? Like I'm just recalling maybe when we met for the first time, right? It was at the Unify Innovation Show. Green Fresh was sponsoring the winner, right?
Yes.
And if you've ever met Tamara, when she gets excited, she's got
I was
that. You
joking.
have that like yell that's like
passionate.
almost contagious. You can hear it from across the room.
Oh yeah.
And it was an exciting moment. But I think at that moment, not a lot of people in the industry knew who you guys were. That was kind of like, it wasn't a coming out, but it was really early days in Nanashake, right?
Yeah.
And then today, fast forward, it's like, Metro knows who you are, Sobeys knows who you are, Longo's knows who you are, you got distribution, a lot of people are talking about you're riding this ramp of momentum. Did you guys sit down on, before that show and be like, we need to build these relationships with these people, this is how it's going to work? Or did it come naturally and then you turned on the gas?
Yeah. So coming from a retail store background, and one of the most difficult things about being a CPG business is getting access to your customers. So you could, if you're doing a demo, you get access to them if you're doing an event, but it's very limited. As a retail store, we were doing 24/7 demos. Yeah. So at any point, Tamara was usually there in the morning, I was there at night. At any point, you could come in and see one of us. And so we were constantly engaging with our customers. So we come from that background. We come from a background where you have to be out there engaging with the customers. So doing demos was actually when we listed. So our first listing ever was at an independent, was Noah's Natural Foods, which unfortunately is no longer with us. But our first not national, but like as a national brand listing was the Sobeys Look for Local program. Yeah. And we actually
through Sherry.
Through Sherry Evans.
Shout out to Sherry again.
Shout
Everyone
out to
seems
Sherry
to give Sherry
Evans.
Evans
Sherry.
shout out. She was on the pod, and
Sherry
she's
Evans.
fantastic.
Such an incredible and positive, force and supporter in this industry for local brands. We've been working with Sherry since 2019, and she has been nothing but super supportive and kind. and just helping us basically do whatever we need to move that bar and needle. So yeah, huge shout out to her. And so this is one of the first things that actually Sherry helped us with, is when we launched at Sobeys. So she reached out to us and said, look, we've got this opportunity where you could do a pop-up. It was at Sobeys Urban Fresh.
Okay.
On Spadina. And so we looked, they had this bar, and they had all the outlets and connections. And what we did was we actually shut down our store for 2 weeks and moved it to Sobeys Urban Fresh, the entire parlor. So we brought our machines. We were offering soft serve, milkshakes, not just the popsicles. Yeah. And so we started out doing a pop-up at Sobeys Urban Fresh. So doing demos and being in store has been at the core of our strategy since day one. In terms of our relationships with the retailers, I would say it's a combination of coming naturally and also us being very keen to work with them and get to know them. And, you know, through the Unify Innovation Showcase, that's where we met you. We also met George. That was the beginning of our relationship with Longos as well. And over the years, we've just been able to build it up. But yeah, it's always been part of our DNA. You have to be in store doing something, whether it's a demo or a pop-up or, you know, just walking around and talking to the staff. Yeah, it's been.
Well, and then look what happened with Metro.
Oh yeah.
Right? It's probably one of the most inspiring stories I've heard in my entire career in the industry. What the relationship you've been able to build with Charles, the way he's partnered with your daughter. Can you tell that story and then tell the recent story that just happened where she was actually given the opportunity to pitch to Charles at Metro head office? Like it's pretty inspiring what you guys have done with that partnership and what Charles has given back, right?
Yeah.
He didn't have to do any of this. So
No.
I'll let you guys tell the story, but I just wanted to say it's definitely one of the most inspiring.
It is.
Thank you.
I get very. I mean, you just mentioned it. I get very emotional just thinking about it. But yeah,
Proud. I'm proud.
I'm proud.
So we, as a family-run business, we did not have a choice to leave our kids at home and do our business, because when we moved here, we have no family. 10 years later, we don't have a family. We don't have friends that we can leave our kids with. And at that time, our kids, they were 5 and 3 years old. So even though we couldn't leave them, even if we had the option. So part of the journey that our kids, they came with us to the store, to the farmer markets, to the event, to the festivals. Was it their ultimate choice? I'm sure it wasn't, but they had to come with us.
Yeah.
And throughout the journey of 7 years of coming and attending markets and events with us, they absorbed the business inside out. Last year in the CHFA West, we had to travel with the family, with our kids. So they skipped the school for a couple of days, not more than that. And we went and we were like towards the end of the show, Rafa was presenting our product and sampling our product to whomever came at that.
Behind the booth as an ambassador.
Yeah, exactly. And this gentleman came and
You hadn't met
Yazeed-
Charles yet?
We hadn't met Charles. We didn't know. We didn't know Charles.
Yeah, so this gentleman came and Yazeed and Rafa was handling this gentleman and I was handling someone else. So Yazeed started talking to Charles at that time. Did you know?
I didn't. I mean,
just-
I
It's like
saw
you-
I saw his badge. I saw the badge color. I was like, okay, it's a retailer.
Yeah, it's a big one. Yeah, it's a big one.
So he started talking to him. So Charles looked at Yazeed and he's like, no, I don't want you to talk to me. I want her to pitch it for me. And naturally, she talked what she knows about our product and what she believes in our product. And then he was so surprised. He looked at Yazeed and he told him,
I'll never forget it. He looked at, she finished pitching to me. He looked at me and he says, if I list it, it's going to be for her. And he walked away.
Wow.
And that was it.
And that was April 2022. May, June, July, next year, and we've been waiting, and we're we are following up with our
There's
broker.
planogram timing, category
Exactly.
reviews.
Right.
It doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
And then on Canada Day this year, late at night, Yazeed received an email from Charles. Can you mention?
Yeah, we went out. I remember we went out to Niagara Falls. We celebrated Canada Day with the fireworks. Came back that night, and it was, I think, 11 p.m. I get an email, and it's Charles, and I started screaming. I'm like, Tamara, it's an email from Charles, and I'm reading, and it was a very simple email. It just said, "Hi Yazeed, please tell your daughter that I, promised her that Nana Pops will get listed at Metro, and I want you to go and tell her that they're going to get listed at Metro, and we're going to start the process, and I want you to bring me samples, like, literally tomorrow." And, like, if
Can't imagine.
if you were anywhere in the vicinity of our apartment, I think the whole block heard
Could
the
hear.
screams,
Yeah.
and Rafa came in, and we showed her, and, before that, we had been going to Metro stores, and, we've got our local Metro next to us, and she would always ask, well, Dad, like, when is it going to get listed? I said, just be patient, it'll happen. So yeah, that was just incredible. And then CHFA was a few months after that, and that was on a completely different level. We had no idea you know what to expect. Charles came to the booth, and he had our first ever flyer ad framed, and we just like burst, and I think everybody in the vicinity just burst. Like, it was such an emotional moment, and you don't have that in CPG, right? Like we've been going to trade shows, and it's great, and it's very, you know, it's a social event, and you're talking to people, and but that emotional, you know, connection where something happens that moves you, and you wanna cry. And we had all these people that just, you know, whether it's vendors next to us in the booths or people walking around, everybody just stood and watched, and the moment was just so magnificent. It was everybody was overcome with emotion. I cried, she cried, everybody, and
Everyone,
and we had people coming up to us and saying, "Look, we've been in this industry for 30 years. We've never ever seen anything like that." And so that was a very emotional, but like she said, very proud moment for us, because we feel like since day one we've been a family-run business. And like she said, our kids, I remember we did a farmer's market where it was like, you know, minus 10 degrees outside. We had to be there at 6 o'clock in the morning. We literally took the kids out sleeping, put them in the car, and they changed their clothes in the van going to the farmer's market. So we've been a family-run business from day one. So this was amazing for us, the culmination of that into a moment like that, where our daughter, who was, you know, 5 or 6 years old when we started the business, at 12 years old, she single-handedly, you know, secured a listing for us at one of the top 3 food retailers in Canada.
The learning and the education and the experience that she is getting out of that is like no other 12-year-old will ever experience that, or it's like at the 0.001% of kids, right?
Yeah.
It's like amazing that she gets to go through that. And then for Charles to go out of his way, right? The category managers, that's probably the busiest job in our industry. They're getting bombarded by people wanting their products in their stores. Right, and for him to take the time to do that and realize how special it is for you guys is incredible.
Yeah, we're very blessed and grateful. He's been incredible, and for him to, like you said, you know, take time out of his schedule to not just do the business side of things, but, you know, seeing, you know, this child who's obviously very involved in the business and wanting to encourage her and support her. It's so inspirational, and it really just it gave us a breath of fresh air. You know, this is the kind of stuff that keeps you going, right? When the going gets tough and you're like, oh my God, like this is really hard, and I'm not sure I can continue doing this.
I'm sure sometimes you're like, why are we doing this?
Many times.
And then you want to tell them about the follow-up,
because the story gets even better, right?
Oh yeah, and then what happened then? The follow-up last week?
Yeah, well, at the show, after the show, we did a whole post about how you know, Charles came to see Rafa, and he offered her the frame, and then Charles in the comments says, "Great job! I want to see Rafa and Rebecca. Rebecca's
Our CR.
the key account manager for Metro at UNFI. He says, I want to see Rafa. Well, at the show, he asked Rafa. He's like, okay, so." What other flavors do you have? And so she started telling him about some of the other flavors we have. And then he was like, I want to see you, Rafa.
She's a natural.
I want to see you, Rafa and Rebecca, at my office, telling me about this third flavor that we should add to our lineup.
And then he asked her a question, what's your favorite flavor? And why do you want it to be like as a third lineup?
Was this at CHFA? He asked what the flavor was, or now she has a meeting, she goes.
He initially asked her
at the show
at the CHFA, but then he wasn't sold on that. He wanted
Yeah.
a pitch. He wanted another pitch. She had to
And
come
gave
in.
her the opportunity to do the pitch
Yes.
at Metro head office.
At Metro head office.
In his office, and she prepared the presentation. She practiced for 2 or 3 days, and she was so nervous, but at the same time, like she's like, "Mommy, I'm so proud of myself. What's the percentage that you're gonna give me from the sale?" And she started negotiating with that.
She's a natural. Yeah.
Oh, of course. And we were like, encouraging her, because as a parent, put the business aside, but as a parent, to see your kid as like 12 or 13 years old going to present a product to like a senior title, it's something. As a parent, it's something huge. So we went there. So she was really nervous. She was there. Of course, Yazeed, he helped her with the pitch, and he's like, like monitoring the screens. She started talking about why is the banana bread is his favorite, and why should Metro carry this flavor. And she started discussing this with Charles.
Wow. And here's the great thing. So Metro listed chocolate and strawberry, which are our first and second bestsellers.
Yeah.
Our third is actually mango, but she went in there recommending banana bread, and openly told him it's actually not our third bestseller, but I still want to recommend it to you. And he was kind of on the fence on it. He was like, "But it's mango's your third bestseller, so why are you recommending the banana bread?" And at that moment she looked at me and I was like, "Rafa, just tell him the truth. What do you think it is?" And she came out and she told him, she goes, "Look, it's the winter season. Ice cream sales traditionally go down in the winter." So right away Charles was like, "Yes." He was, and she knows that because she's been part of the business. Yeah. She goes, "Ice cream sales go down in the winter. Mango's traditionally a summer flavor. If you were listing this in the summer, I would recommend mango, but you want to list this now in the winter. So I would go with banana bread." And she goes, "The reason I would go with banana bread is because it's a lot more versatile." These are her words. You can dip it in your coffee, in your hot chocolate, in your hot drinks. You can do some creative recipes with it. And so with a little bit of marketing and promotion, we've seen that we can actually drive higher sales. This is her telling him.
This is Rafa.
In the winter, because she came. We did a roadshow in the winter last year where we were offering customers a full bar, and they were dipping it in their coffee. So she learned from that, and she was like, "We could do that at Metro during the winter, and we'll drive higher sales for you with the banana bread than we would with the mango." And it was funny. So Charles laughed then, and he goes, "Okay, so I guess you're going to be coming back to me in April to
add the mango."
She goes, "Absolutely.
I'm gonna be here."
So that must have been a extremely proud moment, right?
100%.
To sit there and experience that.
It's priceless moment. You are a father, and one day your daughter is gonna be in an age that she's gonna do something, and you're gonna be like, you know what? It's worth everything.
She just like babbles, and I get excited.
Right? So imagine. Yes, like honestly, for us, it's the fuel that keeps us going. Just to see the culmination. We always talk about it. We feel like our kids missed a lot of their childhood. I mean, we got our food safety certification. So we got food safety certified in our store in a food court. So you can imagine what we had to do to pull that off, because we couldn't supply to Sobeys unless we were GMP certified.
Wow.
So we did that in a
our store.
in a food court.
In a food court.
And so during that process for about 4 or 5 months, every weekend, Saturday, Sunday, the kids spent it at the store, 8 to 9 hours. And so a lot of the times, Tamara and I are like, well, you know what? The kids missed a lot of their childhood, growing up but now seeing Rafa and where she is, we're like, you know what? It's all worth it, because look at what it culminated into,
Is she saying now, like, that's what I want to do with, my career, or like, is she pushing towards like business? 12 years old, you're always like, I want to be an astronaut, or I want to be a doctor. Is it like, I want to be in CPG now?
Yeah.
So we're very careful with that. I mean, you might have had a discussion with her about it, right?
Like she's open.
Like, is the passion there now? That's kind of what I'm asking.
She always has a passion for the business, because she sees us. She sees how much we care and we believe in this product. She sees that it's our dream that this product be everywhere. So she believes in this. But if you could tell her that this is what your dream part is gonna be in the future, she's debating. She likes to be. She wants to be part of the business no matter what, but she likes to be a lawyer.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Her dream is to be a lawyer.
Nice. We'll have to bring her on the podcast next.
I would love to. She would love to.
Oh, she would love to, and I'm telling you, you would have the most, animated podcast ever with her. I'm telling you.
You would enjoy it.
That's awesome. So moving in a little bit of a different direction, what has it been like building the business as husband and wife, right? Because I can imagine that being difficult, right? You're talking about the business all the time. What is the dynamic like? What have you guys learned going through this journey together?
Supporting, being there for each other. It builds so
It's
much. It's tough, but you know what? When we used to be, I was an ex-banker for 10 years before I started this. But having both together in the same job, I understand what he's going through. He understands what I'm going through. We communicate our passion, our aim is one. So no matter what, we have to meet in the middle to make this dream or this aim or this what do you call it?
Dream objective.
Happens, objective. Yeah. So we always work together side by side, no matter what. If he's not there, I'm covering him. If I'm not there, he's covering me. If he noticed something that I can improve, he show it to me. At the same time, I do that. So business, Nana Shake, it brought us more together as a husband and wife than before that.
Yeah, I mean, I understand your question, because one of the biggest things people tell us is like, how do you guys do it? Like, you're both working in the same business. You've been doing it for 9 years, and it's always a big question mark and we look around and we're like, oh, now we know why. Before we didn't understand, but now we look around, we're like, oh my God, yeah, there's not that many examples of it. But like she said, I think working together, first of all, I think in work, the qualities we value the most are trust and loyalty. And having your partner you can't get more trust and loyalty than that.
100%.
So I think that's key. You've got the trust and the loyalty, which is always a great foundation for a great work partnership. And then what we found is, because we had clear roles, she was in charge of initially manufacturing, production, innovating. I would take care of pretty much everything else. So we never had this. I think the problem is when you step on each other's toes.
Yes.
So we've always clearly defined our roles. Right away, somebody comes and talks to me about something. I'm like, no, that's not my boat. That's Tamara. Talk to her. Same thing with her. And like she said, we found that working together actually improved our personal life and our marriage. So initially, I'd say we were better work partners than husband and wife, and then we took that dynamic of always being on the same page and trust, loyalty, and respect, and we applied it to our marriage, and it ended up strengthening our marriage.
I love that. Was there a lot of learning in the beginning? Yeah.
First I used to work with different managers, so I know what's when to cross my boundaries, when to stop. But with Yazeed, at first he's my husband, babe, you can do this. And then I start thinking about, no, he is my babe at home, but after I close the door and leave the house, he's my CEO, he's my manager, he's my boss. I have to respect that. I have to have this mentality at work. At the store, we had a 15 staff. I used to work with them almost most of the time, as their schedule used to be in the morning shift. So when they used to tell me about something regarding the staff, and because we decided HR, it's under Yazeed, I'm like, you have to talk to him. I cannot cross that. Or sometimes I'm like, Yazeed, can we do this the structure of company, we did it as he's my boss, and the production. The same way he is from his side. Tamara, we got this information from a customer. They are asking about our production. Can you take care of that? So whatever comes to my role, he used to forward it for me, and at the same time, I did for his roles.
Yeah. No, I love that. Full respect and full accountability,
Exactly.
right? So there's no, what's the word? There's no vagueness in, roles. So then there's no frustration. There's none of the negativity that could come along with that. So, no, that's awesome. And I think it reflects in the business you guys are building, right? And I experience it when I'm around you guys, right? There's so much, there's an aura around you guys that's so positive. And I think that speaks to exactly what you just brought up. So continue doing what you're doing, because it's inspiring. Yeah.
Thank you.
What was a turning point in the business where you guys are like, this could be a really big business and we're going to go all in?
So when we first started the Scoop Surf shop, it got popular very quickly, and because it was at the right time, veganism was taking off, and we had customers coming to the store, telling us, so the store was the corner of Shepherd and Yonge. They would be coming from like Oakville, and they would say things like to us, "Oh, my friend who's in Michigan sent me a message saying you got to try this ice cream."
Yeah.
So I'm like, so you're in Oakville and you found out about Nanashake from your friend
What the heck?
from the US. And then we had a lot of instances.
So this was pre
yes.
this?
This,
This
yeah.
is pre
Okay.
this.
So this is like 2018,
This
2019.
is yes. So you're talking 2017, 2018. And then customers, and then our sales were growing, year on year. And our customers would come and say, but our location wasn't ideal. And back then, I don't think it's applicable now. Back then, you literally had vegan. There were certain areas in Toronto where the vegan community was focused and concentrated. Like Hamilton was a very big one at the time.
Yeah.
And so our customers were like, "We love your products, but can you open up more stores? We can't keep coming up to Shepherd Yonge." And that's when we're a family-run business. We're a small business. We didn't have that many resources. We definitely couldn't open another retail store. So that's when we started thinking about packaging our products.
Yeah.
And it was the timing was incredible. So it was around end of 2019 that we started packaging Nanopops from the store, from our Scoop Surf shop and selling it at stores. And then that's when COVID hit. And so it really just gave us time to sit back and think about our strategy going forward. With the store openings and the closures that came with COVID, it was very difficult running a retail store. And so we had to make a decision. We're like, there's demand for this product, people want it, but we can't, continue being a hybrid type, business model. And so when our lease ran out, it was in January 2022. And we had seen enough traction at supermarkets and stores. That's when we made the decision to not renew our lease and to pivot completely to become a CPG business.
So this was 2022.
Yeah.
When you guys, so just last year.
Yeah.
When you guys
January.
just made the family decision to go,
Yes.
let's do this.
Yeah.
So, and then you had a co-packer.
We didn't.
You didn't
At
have a
that time,
co-packer?
My hands were the
Yeah, because I remember the whole, because do you mind sharing that story of, because I think
Absolutely.
that's a lesson in CPG or an
It's a
experience here, right? Because I
painful
remember you
lesson.
guys talking with me and you were doing hours overnight, crazy in a commercial kitchen,
Yes.
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
And then you guys had to make the transition to a co-packer, but you couldn't find someone that could deliver the quality with the certifications, and that took a couple of months, right?
Well, it wasn't even that. It was the fact that nobody knew how to work with bananas.
Yeah.
So bananas are notoriously difficult to work with, and
So you guys have this product, you guys want to put your foot on the gas, and it's like, I don't want to make it.
Like the viscous of our ingredient before we freeze it, it's the same viscous that when
Viscosity.
that you make your pancake batter. So
Okay.
can you imagine that turn it into ice cream with whatever machines that they have? It's really challenging.
So you were combining two manufacturing practices basically into one.
well, I mean, she started out literally peeling bananas and freezing them. But then you get to a point where that's no longer feasible. You can't continue.
It's crazy.
But we did that.
Yeah.
But listen, we did that for
crazy in a good way.
In a good way.
Not in a negative
We
way at
learned
all.
a
But we
lot.
did
yeah,
that
it's
for
a lot of
6
work.
years.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
peeled it. So first of all, manufacturers didn't know how to work with bananas. Second of all, the equipment that was available in the market to manufacture ice cream wasn't suitable
Yeah.
for bananas. And so it was a challenge, but it was also one of our main points of differentiation is that we made a product that others didn't know how to.
The value of the company goes up because of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And so that's why every we probably looked for a good 4 years
Oh wow.
before we were able to find a co-packer. And even then we had to come up with a process because again, the equipment had to be able to handle that viscosity. So Tamara was just R&D central, right?
Yeah. So as Yazeed said, in 2019, when we start shipping our product to Sobeys,
Yeah.
we had to get some certain certification. So we got this certification, which is the GMP at a store, 250 foot square.
250 square feet store.
So we got this and we start shipping from there. But at that time we were in 20 stores, so we could handle
The volume.
the volume from that store. But for us, we wanted to expand. So we start looking into a shared facility. So we started producing at the shared facility back in June 2020.
And it was far away from your home.
Yeah, it takes
Colburn.
In Colburn, it take about, if there is no traffic, door to door, it's about 2 hours.
And you'd go there for the whole day.
Yeah, one way. And then on the way
incredible.
back, it's the worst because either there's an accident or traffic. So it used to take between 2 to 3 hours.
So you have production day. You'd spend the whole day there.
And production in
12 hours.
in a kitchen, it's between 9 to 10. It's whatever happens in the kitchen, because there are lots of surprises. So at that time when we start looking that we got more listing, we had to look into
You knew
the
you weren't going to be able to
co-packers.
keep up.
Yeah.
Of course. So we start looking into the co-packers. Yazeed reached out to some. I reached out to some. We connected with Omafra.
Yep.
And they give us some list of ice cream manufacturer. Finally, we found one that was back into end of 2021, and we started negotiating with them. And then, should I tell the story of the first one?
Yeah, sure. Of course.
So we start
we're here to
and they
share.
were in the process of having their own certification. And after we finished everything and we did some test run, they came back to us and they asked 4 times of the charges that we agreed on. And for us, we were
labor charge, yeah.
what? No, you can't. Who's gonna buy it? And we're traveling in a couple of weeks to the CHFA
West
West,
So that's
and
when all this was happening.
When Rafa pitched to Charles, we were there, and we'll say it now. We couldn't say it. We were there pushing Nanopops 2. We had no idea how we were going to manufacture them.
we had
I love
lost,
these stories. Yeah.
We had lost at that time. Can you imagine how challenging it is to be in a booth in a show an event like
You're
a
getting all the
CHFA,
positive reactions, your momentum, and you're like,
and we are the only people.
What are we gonna
Yazeed
do?
and I were looking at each other. We're
sweating underneath.
Yes, absolutely. And our SRM for Unify is we're placing, when are you going to deliver the first order? And we're like, well, we're kind of working on the production, but we'll get back to you. Yeah, so it was crazy. Those guys, I mean, it's water under the bridge now, but we were at a show pitching a lineup. We had no idea how to manufacture. And so we found used equipment on Kijiji, ordered it. Tamara came back. And so we came back from CHFA. It was the end of April. We shipped our first skid of Nanopops 2.0 a month later. I'll never forget, 27th of May.
So what was the solution? You guys created your own
we as Yazid said, like we start looking into machines, and we bought our machines. It was old, but we did the maintenance.
them.
We got the certification that they required. We got all of them at the shared facility, and we continued producing at the shared
So you
facility.
got approval from them to run these machines
Yes.
that you bought,
They were very kind. You know,
They are the best.
They
and it
saw
was within the cost to keep the retail at the price that was
I
agreed
mean,
upon, because that's all goes into it, right? Your gross margin and everything, right? Costs are going up. How do we make money? Like now you got to rejig the whole equation, right?
we were. I think the first few shipments we were probably paying out of pocket.
Yeah.
You're like, let's just get it out, we'll
But
figure it
Exactly.
out. Like,
Yeah, I mean, we launched at the CHFA. We were in the product showcase with UNFI. I mean,
well, and if anyone gets wind of it, oh, Nanopops can't
Yeah.
ship.
yeah,
They just go to the next brand.
Yeah.
So they don't care about
Exactly.
you guys. It's just like, oh, they're not, they're not ready for the big leads yet. They're just going to turn left,
yeah.
right? So there's a risk.
Yeah, so we paid out of pocket. I think the first. I mean, when we met you at the Unify Innovation Showcase, like that was 2 weeks after we shipped. It was mid June.
Yeah,
we had
first
shipped
CM.
our first order end of May. So when we met you, it was around that time. And on that point, I'll just say, people talk about profitability. They talk about margins, and it's obviously you have to make money, right? You can't run a business without making money. But what I would say is, don't be afraid if the math doesn't, add up initially, as long as you know that you can get. So we knew what the costs were to manufacture, and we knew long term that we were going to go to a co-packer and that we would get the cost down. So what I would say is, don't be afraid if the math doesn't add up initially, but if you've got a strong product, which has a place in the market. We had obviously tested, we had traction.
Yeah.
This wasn't a case of we're just going to bring something new. You got to take those risks and chances. And in the end, it turned out to be the right thing, because we eventually found our path to a co-packer, and now we know that we can manufacture the product with a healthy margin.
Yeah. No, it's incredible. So where is it available today? How many retailers? How many doors? Do you guys have a rough idea?
She's you know what,
She goes to all of them.
and look, I gotta say,
I've seen the mascot at every single
Everywhere.
one.
Everywhere.
And I
Which
gotta
is
tell her,
impressive.
I'm so
Thank
proud
you.
of her. Not only that, she's been, we've been getting our sales reports from UNFI, and she's been doing like an analysis on the reports. She knows exactly how many units we're selling in these stores. She split them up into different tiers. So that's why I want to hand it over to her, because she's the expert on that. You tell them.
So like now we are in about 308 active stores and locations in 6 provinces in Canada, and we are in major retailers like Sobeys, Metro. We are in independent as like Healthy Planet, all of them, Longo's, Nature's Emporium. We have some stores in the West as well. We have some amazing locations like Avril. We are doing extremely well in Montreal and Quebec.
Incredible. What's next? Who are you trying to go after? What plans do you have for 2024?
So
Oh gosh.
yeah, 2024 is
Have you finished your
Yes.
planning, I guess, for 2024?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And our target for 2024 is to. So we're, like she said, we're in a lot of the the nationally known brands and retailers with some of the independents, but we're not in any of the discount retailers. And one trend that we've seen this year is that the discount retailers have been gaining a lot of market share over the conventionals, and obviously with the way inflation is in the economy. And so one of our big targets for 2024 was to get into some of the discount retailers. And at the CHFA, that was our main objective, was to meet with a lot of the buyers from those retailers, and thankfully we were able to connect with them. And so we're in discussions right now, and just a lot of back and forth. Like you said, it takes a bit of time, but definitely what we want to do is double our store count over the coming year, but we want to be very strategic with it. So again, we want to add discount retailers to our listings. The other thing we want to do is diversify. So we want to add additional revenue lines to the business. So food service is a big one for us, and we're already having some interesting discussions with counterparties about bringing Nanopops into the food service space and offering it So yeah, we've got a very exciting 2024
Pipeline.
pipeline lined up for 2024.
Is the team growing? Is the like, are you bringing on additional resources to help with the scale, or is it family run still?
So it's definitely family run, but
Will always be a family.
will always be family run.
course.
But
You
yeah,
can bring in some friends to help.
Yeah.
we are planning on adding some positions to the company, and we're very excited about that. So we haven't made any official announcement yet, but we will.
Yeah, very soon.
As soon as we're able to. But no, we're definitely. I mean, one of the big things for us is bringing on a sales, a leadership sales position. Tamara and I have been, hustling our way through running the business, but I think we're at a stage of growth right now where we need some, strategy in place for this. A lot of the stuff we do is just, we got an offer for a listing. Let's put it in. Oh, we're going to do a demo here. We're going to do a promo there. But now, we've come to a point in the lifespan of the business where we need to have a strategy in place. So that's key for us. We're looking to add a senior sales position, and hopefully we're hoping to be doing that over the next couple of months.
That's exciting. How about the USA? Is that on the horizon anytime soon? That's always a fun question that I like to ask.
So do you wanna tell them about?
It's a dream. It's a dream, yes. Of course, it's in the horizon. Of course, we are planning to do that. But before we go there, we have to have our fruits like deep in our ground. We are so proud that we are Canadian product and Canadian brand, and we want to make sure that our product is stable and it's doing very well in its home country before it go south, right? So
South.
yeah.
Of course, yeah.
So definitely there is a plan, and we have. Should I share all the information?
About?
The US.
Sure. I mean,
And we have
I don't know what
already
you're gonna say, but
the Veg Fest.
oh yes, you can definitely talk
So
about that.
we attended like a Veg Fest Toronto this year as a panel speaker about the business and how.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, and we had some inquiry from a guest at that time. Like we were just talking about how to open and launch a vegan business, and we shared our challenges and a strength with them. And one of the listeners, she asked us, and we were like, I'm a brand ambassador for this chain, and they have 114 locations, and we would love to hold your to carry your product in our freezer shelf. So there is a plan, yes, but is it gonna be executed in 2024 or early 25? This is what we are working on.
Yeah, and I think we have to be one of the blessings of being in the CPG industry these days is there's so much, there's a wealth of knowledge and information and experience and resources out there. And so we're seeing a lot of these brands that are going out to the US, and we're hearing about the pain points and the difficulties and the challenges. And so we are fully aware that it's a beast of an undertaking. And so while there is interest in the product definitely coming to the US, we don't feel like we have the resources that you would need to basically successfully.
What would a PO? How would you fund a PO if you got a huge retailer on board, right? It could then affect the core business that's thriving, right? There's so many variables.
And I was actually I'm doing the Trade Accelerator program, and we had the first workshop just a few days ago. And the person leading the workshop was saying, if you go into the US, you have to treat it almost as an entirely new business.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to make sure that you've got sales people that you can dedicate to marketing. I mean, that's the big thing about the US. Just because you get your foot into the door, how are people gonna know about your product and come and buy it? So. We have to be very ready, and we don't want to go too early. Yeah. But the great thing is that there's already interest. Like we see interest from some of the well-known food retailers out in the US, and we're going to continue building on our strength here in Canada And as we feel we're on solid footing, I mean, right now the target is definitely 2025.
Amazing. And then
Yeah.
you guys were just recently in LA, right?
Yeah.
Did you get to do a little bit store tours, go check out the retail? I love doing that in California.
Yeah.
But that probably gave you some perspective on what the opportunity is, the gap, similar to how you did it in Canada. I'm sure there's more innovation kind of starts over there, but
Yeah.
good place to start.
Yeah, it's a bigger market, so there's definitely a lot more innovation and choices, but also it's like the stores you go in there, just the sheer scale. And you've got huge stores here, but I mean, it's just in the US, it's on a completely different
different.
level. And so, I would go and look at the ice cream set and
The assortment too.
the assortment.
So many different flavors because it's so difficult for them to bring it here. The compliance, the ingredients, the bilingual packaging, right? It's
Yeah.
so many different flavors.
Yeah, but it was great. The great thing is we went and we went to a few of the well-known banners in out west, and the great thing is that we couldn't find any banana-based bars. So there's definitely a huge opportunity for
Yeah.
that, and also what we've been hearing is that it's a lot easier to find a co-packer in the U.S. Than it is over here. You've just got a lot more options to go to, and so. I think for us, the plant has been, the seed, has been planted. And as soon as we feel like we've got the resources that are necessary to make the move across the border, we're definitely going to be making that
Jumping
move.
on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for any of my U.S. listeners, if you're going into one of your retailers, ask them about Nanopop. Start spreading the momentum, right?
Yes.
Spreading the
Yes.
bug. Yeah.
Please, absolutely.
Last question before we head out. What advice would you give to an aspiring entrepreneur in the industry? You both have to give one.
Okay. Mine is keep chasing your dreams, because each founder had a dream in the product that they launch. So chase it. Don't be affected with the number of sales. Don't be affected that you're tired or the competitor. Stay on your line. Feed that dream. Don't feed whatever is, the garnish around the dream or path. Believe in your dream and chase it.
Love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I, that's a great one also. Staying in your lane. It's quite daunting and intimidating getting into the CPG space, because with social media, you're just bombarded by what other brands are doing, and it can be very daunting because you look at yourself, you're like, how am I ever going to be able to do this? And so what I would say is if you've got a passion for what you do, and you truly believe in it, and obviously you've got a product that addresses the trends that are in the market right now. Just stay in your lane. Don't worry too much about what other people are doing. Focus on delivering the best product that you can at the best value to customers, at a reasonable price. And as you keep putting all the work and effort into it, you'll see the fruits. The efforts start bearing fruit.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's amazing advice, and thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Oh,
I'm
it's our
excited
pleasure.
for what's to come. I'm excited to see some banana bread at Metro,
Yes.
right? So that's super exciting. But yeah, no, thanks again for doing this. I really appreciate it.